Welcome to your final online module for Empowering Social Studies Teachers for Smarter Balanced Assessment. Because we're at item writing, this online module covers the work for February, March, and April. Our objectives for this month, next month, and the month after, the next 3 months really, are reviewing the components of a selected response item, reviewing the components of a constructed response item, and reviewing the components of a performance task. In looking at writing a constructed response item, you can refer back to some of the information that we presented in November if need be. But just keep in mind that a selected response item can be assessed easily at depth of knowledge 1 and 2, and that you can accomplish a DOK 3, but it becomes a pretty complicated question, but it can be done. Selected response items are multiple choice and matching, and selected response items should follow as many of those rules from the MAC handout, Michigan Assessment Consortium handout, that we also gave to you in October and November, as humanly possible. Remember as well to take a look at tasks that have already been done for both selected response, constructed response, and performance tasks. While these hit ELA pretty heavily, I think you guys have done enough work this year that you can translate some of this further into more social studies based that's still hitting those literacy standards. If you log into your Edmodo site and click on ESSTSBA if you're a member of multiple groups, don't click on your small group, just click on ESSTSBA. At the top of your page, there should be a folders option. If you click on that, we have constructed response questions, and these are the ones that we gave to you on the opening kickoff day. So these are constructed response questions at a variety of grade levels that you can use to model and take a look at. We have the same thing for selected response items. And we have the same thing for performance tasks. Here's how you actually go about starting to write these questions. Before we go over those components as a review, pull out those action plans that you guys worked with in January. I asked you guys to identify some big ideas and to decide which might be the best way to assess them, either through a selected response, constructed response, or performance task. But first, take a look at those big ideas. Are these still your big ideas? We all know that based on the needs of our students, we have to adjust instructions. So did you get there? Are you going to be there on time? Are these still the big ideas that you want to assess? If so, then you can move on and move actually into writing some items that go along with them. If they're not still your big ideas, tweak them. What has your big idea become? Also look at what did you decide in January might be the best way to assess them. Again, were they going to be a selected response, multiple choice, or matching question? Were they going to be a constructed response essay? Was it going to be a performance task? And really, in looking at those, ask yourself, does this still work? Once you've done that, then we'll actually look at the components of a selected, constructed, and performance task item on Smarter Balanced one last time. A constructed response item can assess at DOK's level 2 and 3 relatively easily. You can do a DOK 4 constructed response item, but again, just like in selected responses, this leads to a complicated question, but it can be done. Don't try to assess this level all the time. A constructed response question is an essay question that draws on readings from class and readings that may be provided on the assessment itself. It's scored by a rubric, and I'm going to take a second here to show you where you can access pre-made rubrics that you can tweak based off of the question choice that you choose. To access pre-made rubrics for Smarter Balanced Assessment constructed response items, go to www.smarterbalanced.org, and when the page loads, click on Smarter Balanced Assessments. Don't click on any of these extra choices, just click on Smarter Balanced Assessments. When you scroll down the page, you'll come to Content Specifications and Item Task Specifications. you will see ELA rubrics underneath English Language Arts and Literacy. Since this is where social studies will end up being assessed, click on the ELA rubrics and the PDF will open. If you're asking them to do an argumentative writing, there's a rubric for that you can take and tweak based on what you're asking. Same deal for informative or explanatory writings. Mostly used in grades 3 through 5 for this one. And then a different rubric for 6 through 12. If you're going to have them write a narrative, there's a rubric for grades 3 through 8. An opinion piece for grades 3 through 5. There's a rubric for that. And a research rubric. For the components of a performance task, keep in mind that performance tasks are extended activities, usually done in 1 to 2 sessions, could be done in more, and that the idea is to measure a student's ability to take knowledge and integrate it across multiple standards and skills. Performance tasks are used to better measure depth of understanding, their research skills, and their ability to take and analyze a complex text or a series of complex texts. This can't be adequately done with a selected or a constructed response item. Performance task items will be both part of the summative component of Smarter Balanced, the piece that your school takes, and it will also be part of the interim assessments that are developed, and those will probably end up being scored at the classroom level. So you have the two types. Some of them will be assessed through the summative assessment and will be graded by graders or scoring programs, and you'll have the ones on the interim assessments which will be scored at the school level. These are large items and they synthesize information across multiple prompts. You could embed a brief video, a political cartoon, a chart, 2 essays, etc., journal articles. All of these things are pieces that can be, depending on the grade level of students you're servicing, put into a performance task. They can also allow additional research, which is either guided or free. And what I mean by that is you can either give them a list of websites that they can go to look up more information on this topic, or you can have them Google it. A performance task could assess an entire unit if need be. To access rubrics for performance task items, go to www.smarterbalance.org and click on Smarter Balanced Assessments. You don't need any of these additional things, just click on Smarter Balanced Assessments. If you scroll down about almost towards the bottom of the page, you will see performance tasks. There's a performance task specification document, and there's pre-made rubrics for the writings. So if the performance task is asking them to do an informative or explanatory piece at grades 3 through 5, here's a sample rubric that you can take and tweak based on what you're looking for. Not a lot of tweaking is really necessary for these if you're asking them to do an informative piece. Same deal for a narrative, opinion, argumentative for grade 7, evidence or elaboration, argumentative. All of these should help make your life easier when you're trying to finish up your performance task. So, with this final piece, we've covered selected response items, constructed response items, and performance tasks. The next step for you guys, once you've all written an item, you're expected to write a constructed response, you're expected to write a selected response, and you are expected to write a performance task over the next 3 months. Remember, when you're done with these, to record 9 hours on your SBCEU timesheet and start to think about next steps. because the next time we're all together, we'll actually be together in person at dates that will be coming to you via email shortly. These in-person sessions in May, we will take a look at the work that we've done this year. We will talk about how this went in class. Be prepared, if possible, to bring some student work samples that we can take a look at and learn together how the impact of these assessment items went in class. And you'll also receive copies of all the assessment items that were written at all the grade levels. So think about what else you would like at that in-person session, but more importantly, we're looking at a second cohort next year to restart this work with new people, and we're also looking at a cohort one second year, which would be you guys. We are definitely going to change the format of some of this, but we value your input as well, since you're the people that, had to go through this training. We very much all appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you guys all together again in May.